You're live. Okay.
Microwave.
Ready. Anytime.
We're on.
We're on. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's call this meeting to order. It says a special joint meeting of the Greenville City Council and members of the Community Improvement Corporation, better known as the CIC. This time I would ask the clerk to please call the roll of members of council.
Godwin,
Yes, here.
Howdy Show,
Here.
Rogers,
Here.
Smith,
Here.
Whitaker, Wright, and Baumgartner.
Here.
Whitaker's here.
All right.
Would the members of the CIC please introduce themselves slowly so that the clerk can get those names, please?
Where to start? I'll start. Steve Willman, Mayor. You want to do anything?
Ryan Delp, Safety Service Director.
Okay, I see Mike Henderson,
Mike Henderson, President.
Mike Bowers,
Mike Bowers, Dark County Economic Development.
John Swallow,
John Swallow, I'm the CIC treasurer.
and I see a
Doug Freeze.
Doug
Oh, yeah.
Freeze.
where do you go? The Freeze. I see a Galaxy 3. Who's that? Anybody know? There's a phone number 742-30737. 0737 phone. Is that a CIC number?
That's John Swallow.
Oh, it just comes up on a different spot. Okay. What about this other one? You need my.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you. Appreciate everyone's time on this. This meeting is called, and particularly just again, do a, which we had agreed to do prior, about every, at least in September, to review with the members of the CIC and City Council that we can have a little dialogue together. Some of us by statute are members of the CIC. We have 2 representatives from City Council, but sometimes it's good to have all members present to see and hear what's going on. So at this particular time, I'll turn it over to Mayor Wellman, and he can go from there.
Yes. We don't have much time, so we'll try to hurry through a few things here that we want to touch base on a few items and then have a few questions as far as this communication. This comes from the CIC strategic plan that we finished, what was it, in 18, I guess, 2018, at the end of the year, I think. So one of the things that's come up was better communications with council. So that's why we're here, and at least once a year. There's even some thought of doing it twice a year, but that's something to work on maybe. So I don't know. I think I didn't have a set agenda per se, but I have some things written down. Last year we went through a few things like John Swallow. We had just a couple questions on finance, income, and balance, and that's about it to see if we're running in the black. I think that was what was asked. So farm ground payments coming in. Is there anything else you want to share with us tonight?
Really don't have any specific updates. Be glad to entertain any questions, but yeah, the farm ground is leased. We're continuing to see that rental income. Our cash balances have remained strong. We did donate some monies towards the Greenville Community Assistance Fund that tapped into our reserve just a little bit. But all in all, the CIC has no debt, and so we're sitting in overall a a good position, but we don't have the excess reserves that we would need to make any large purchases of land or anything along those lines. But we're solid as we can be at this point.
Thank you. That's kind of what we're looking for. There's one other item that we looked at last year, or you brought up, was the waiving of fees. And I'm not positive when that actually happens, but it has to go through council. So stormwater and also the mowing, I think we've done that before. So, and that takes some kind of legislation, I think, as well.
Mhm.
So that's something we'll have to get with council and work on. So, okay, that's it on your end, all you can think of. So,
Yep, thank you.
one of the next thing that I had some items I went through last year's agenda or minutes, came up with things. So, the other thing was that we talked about shortly was revolving loan funds that we created. And as of yet, we've never had anybody apply. There's been a couple of times we thought maybe they were, but nothing's come of it. So they're still there. One of these days we can use those, particularly maybe next year if we have some money. So I don't know how are we looking as far as
Well,
finances for the city?
I think, well, we're still waiting to see what the total impact of the COVID is going to have on the city. We're still thinking in 2021 that we're still going to see a downturn in our revenues. So we have to be cautious on any additional funding that we give out. However, I know we had originally talked about, I think, a donation of $25,000 if somebody had applied for the revolving loan fund, which apparently hasn't happened yet. So I guess we'll talk about that further if we get some applications.
Good deal. I think last year we moved into that. From that, we talked about money a little bit on, and one of the things in our strategic plan was where our money comes from and what we can do to increase that. And that was, we just touched briefly on, for the last several years, I've asked city to set aside funds to, for the CIC to make improvements in the industrial park or to buy farm ground. So that's still something we'd like to address. So other than that, as we go along, if anybody has questions, please ask. So I don't know what there would be, but so a short time here. So then the next thing. So just I had a little note, strategic plan. It was part of our communications, and I wanted to go over our objectives. So out of this communication part, our objectives is, it's like I said, communication with the city. Everybody gets copies of the minutes, and need to bring up items of interest is on our objectives list. Study internal and external funding mechanisms, which our normal funding comes from the city. In the past, we've had some, I think we had grants in the past, I'm not sure, but right now there's none being written, so I don't know if there's any available. Then partnering with the city for dealing with vacant buildings, and that's something that we've talked about a little bit in the past. As we keep working on cleaning up nuisance properties or vacant properties, the CIC would be a good vehicle in order to buy or sell properties that we may acquire from foreclosure of properties. So it's something that possibly could come up. I don't know about this year, but next year, that may be something where there might be a little money coming in and out that we could have a property, the city could donate it to the CIC, and then there could be some funds left over for the CIC, you never know. So we can continue that process. maybe even down the road, CIC could finance fixing up places or using the revolving loans and fix places up and then resell them. That's something to look at. So then the last couple things, targeted commercial revitalization, and that's a little bit on the talking about the same thing, revolving loans, and then neighborhood stabilization related to the DRD involvement. So I don't know if anybody knows the DRD weren't approved by the state, and that they had to be turned back in, reapplied for the DRD, and we still haven't heard back, right, from the Montrose group or anybody from the DRDs.
They're still with the Ohio Department of Taxation.
So I don't know why it would take so long, because everything was done, and all they had to do was recalculate the boundaries of those areas to make sure we had the right amount of space in each one of them. And that was done. They turned those back in, and we've been waiting for months, and maybe they're not even working. So they may be not in their office, like I found with other ideas or other agencies. So could be that deal. So maybe as the virus gets better, that maybe we'll hear back from them. So let's see. The next item. Okay, one of the big things, and Dennis is here. One of the things I wanted to share is that we are working on the city's comprehensive plan. It's very beginnings though. So Dennis is going to help lead that. Dennis Aichlinger is our planning and zoning director. So he has a little bit of background in that area. And so he's been tasked with pursuing that. So all of our departments in the city will end up hearing about that very soon. We're going to start scheduling meetings to get the departments, all the departments of the city on board with what their future plans are and what the needs are, and we'll work from there. So setting up a committee. I don't know, is there anything else you think of when we're doing?
At some point, we're going to start internally and kind of move out from there. So at some point, we'll be engaging with different groups. So
city residents and different
Yep.
things and businesses and that type of thing. So good. Other than that, I think I wanted to make sure we had time. I kind of rushed through everything. I'll look for something that we might want to else know, or something else we might want to know about. But is there any questions from anybody? I mean, it's like a communication session. So anybody questions on how things are working, what we're doing?
So, hey, Mike, I've got a couple questions, maybe for Mike Bowers, I guess.
He was
So-
my next spot to go to.
So,
Go ahead, John. Go ahead.
yeah, so look, what's new happening? I mean, I know every time Mike and we talk, and I know you're busy with a lot of projects. Is there any exciting news coming up? You know, any new businesses coming to town, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, as far as working with our companies, obviously one of the nice announcements that we had, 2 or 3 weeks ago was with Troy Sunshade and some of the PPE funding. So that was a nice win that we were able to assist with, and that benefited that company. The Andersons continues to work on a project that will take their production from 110 million gallons to 130 million gallons with the same inputs. They're adding a boiler at their site. That's been a project that's kind of been ongoing, but delayed a little bit because of COVID. The Classic Carriers, who purchased the old Beaky property, and then right after that purchased the old Tiger Eye building out there. So Classic Carriers is out of Versailles, Ohio, but they have that location in the Greenville Industrial Park. And that's going to be an addition that they're going to be looking at putting on. During COVID, King's Command over in Versailles added another line of production. So Classic Carriers is one of their main transportation companies that they use. So that'll be a nice little project that would work and move forward. The other piece that has to do with the industrial park is you've still got the two land options, one being the Lindemuth property, which is the 72 acres to the east of the Anderson's ethanol facility. And then the second, or let's see, so that'll be again, the other one would be the property. It's 25 acres that is right beside GTI. So other folks are looking to just kind of continue to stay the course. Obviously, COVID threw a big wrench into everything as those things were moving forward. Production is not up 100%. A project that's taken a lot of time just in the last 2 to 3 months, and Steve, Mayor Woman, can attest to this. Been spending a lot of time on the KitchenAid experience and just trying to get that worked through and figured out and what the next best option is. So we continue to have meetings on that, and but we continue to pursue opportunities and options for folks throughout the city, and obviously then throughout the county as well. But for this group, it's more based on the city. Wayne Healthcare is finishing up their piece, and then possibly looking at another opportunity in the next 6 months or so on the north end of Greenville that has just been brought to light. So yeah, there's a lot of different things. My office is focusing on right now Sophomore Manufacturing Day, which is typically the first Friday in October. It's going to be Manufacturing Week, and we're looking at putting together a virtual opportunity. It will affect all 8 school districts in the county. We're working with 5 of our manufacturers in the county, but every sophomore at Greenville High School will get an opportunity to be involved with that, just to show what opportunities are out there for manufacturing and good careers that kids can go into, because not every kid's wired to go directly to college. So we're showing them that there are career opportunities. There's apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeships and internships that we're working with our local manufacturers to let them and work with them to engage with that emerging workforce that'll be coming out. So then followed with that in October and November, we do a junior job shadow. And we have a nice little menu of opportunities for juniors in all 8 school districts. And again, in this case, more specifically, Greenville High School, to set them up with opportunities to have a half-day piece with our local manufacturers. So still trying to figure out how that's going to come into play.
We're about out of time, so
Okay.
can we just get another, anybody else have any questions? Mr. Freeze, I'm glad you're here. Just for a couple minutes, you want to share anything about the start of school? If you're still with us, maybe not.
Yep, I'm with you.
We're real close. Our council meeting starts at 7:30, so we only got a couple minutes. I didn't know if you wanted to share anything or not.
Yeah, everything is going very well. Thanks to the cooperation of the entire community, parents, the students, staff are all doing a great job. The protocols that we've got in place with our reset restart program is operating very well. I just think it's something everybody's got to pull together, continue to try to do the things we have to do to provide as much in-person education as we can. We did try to provide a remote option, and we've got 460 kids that are remote, and we've got 2,000 kids that are coming in. And so things are off to a decent start, and we'll hopefully be able to continue to keep plowing ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anybody else have any questions? Maybe just a little bit of tidbit I was going to say with council, but we got another minute or two. I don't know, did everybody get out and enjoy the car show and First Friday and Adora? It was a great weekend and people were having a good time downtown. So I thank Ryan Berry for getting a lot of that together, and Dan Duncan, Dave Miley with the car show. So some big events that we haven't seen anything for a while. A lot of people downtown. So it was pretty neat to see a few things back to a little bit of normalcy. So appreciate everybody coming. One last chance. Any questions? So, okay, we're down to about 3 minutes left to our council meeting. So it was quick, but maybe we'll try to do it again later on. But
Well, I would personally like to thank the members of the CIC who, phoned in with us or hooked up to the Zoom application. It does take a little bit of time, but we certainly appreciate it. Apologize for the technical difficulties to start. At this time, if there's nothing further, I guess we had a formal opening, so we'll have to have a meeting or a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Schmidt that we adjourn.
We can do it.
Call roll.
Godwin,
Yes.
Howdy Shell,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner.
Yes.
Thank you all.
so they staying on for the next one. They,
We just
I didn't know if it's,
Yeah, we can keep running on
I
the
don't know
roll.
if it was a different setup. or
Thank
not.
you for coming in. Appreciate that very
Thanks,
much.
Dennis.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Good one.
Thanks.
You're welcome to stay. Before.
Thank you.
Yeah, take care.
Where's Mr. Wright? Call
He,
it.
yeah, he called in the city and said he couldn't make it.
Oh, okay. I didn't
He's
get
got
that.
some, he's meeting with trustees and some kind of boards for the fire department. You know, he's got a new job. You know,
Oh, I
he's
didn't
got
know
a-
that.
He's a fire chief for
Liberty Township.
sworn in a week or 2 weeks ago, and so he's got a big job. They cover a lot of area.
Jefferson Township in Dayton.
Well, it's from where
Like
down there in
Drexel, Trotwood area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my
Covers
God.
all, it goes all down through Dayton. Yeah, it's a big area. It's a pretty nice area. With,
Okay.
all that.
What time do we have? 7:29. So we're getting ready to
Yes, it is.
fire and fall back here. So. Third.
There's Doug, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Got 6.
And that's it.
Okay,
7 would be Doug Wright.
right. That's correct. Okay, are we ready? Everybody ready? City council will come to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Jessica's mute there.
Howdy Shell,
Here.
Rogers,
Here.
Schmidt,
Here.
Whitaker,
Here.
Wright, Baumgartner,
Present.
Godwin.
Here.
Okay, let's all stand for the pledge, please. Ooh, trying to do this, make it work. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Sounds like a delayed echo, but it works. Approval of the minutes. You all received a copy of the August, what date was that? 17th or September 1? September 1 meeting. in the mail or email. Did you have any corrections or additions to the minutes? Hearing or seeing none, they will stand approved as presented. Approval of the current financial report. You've all received copies of that from the city auditor. Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Whitaker to accept the current financial report. Discussion? Call roll, please.
Audisha,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
Okay, regarding the agenda, I have one item to add under ordinances and resolutions. And it will be an ordinance. And it will be repealing ordinance number 20-87 that was passed on August the 18th. And is regarding additional appropriations for current expenses. Some changes due to the some necessary bookkeeping things. And I think the auditor will probably explain that a little bit later. But that will become ordinance number 9. Other than that, that's all that I have.
Move to
Council
approve the agenda as
President,
amended.
Motion by Mr. Schmidt to approve the agenda as amended. Discussion? Call a roll, please.
Audisha,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have nothing scheduled. Oh, yes, we do. We have one scheduled under public hearing. And that is an issue regarding zoning recommendation. And is from a portion of land SR3, suburban residential, to NB, neighborhood business, for 1185 Wayne Avenue. Do you have that piece of information, clerk?
I have the letter, yes.
Okay.
Let's see. Honorable members of council, at the July 21st, 2020 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, GK Enterprise Ltd's request was heard for a zoning amendment for 1.1759 acres lot at the south end of Wayne Avenue. The physical address of the location is 1185 Wayne Avenue. Members voted to send a favorable recommendation to City Council for the request to rezone the land from SR3 Suburban Residential 3 to Neighborhood Business. And following with the zoning regulations, Article 5, Amendment, Section 5.05, the Planning and Zoning Commission is hereby forwarding the recommendation to rezone the request to City Council. City Council, per zoning text Section 5.06, must now take action. The application, as submitted by Dr. Timothy Kathman, property owner, is attached. Minutes from the July 21st, 2020 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting are also attached. Sincerely, Stephen Willman.
Now, we have to set that away 30 days? Right. Okay, that needs to be.
It's
Mr. Raymond?
Okay, sorry.
I thought that it already had been advertised, and this was our 30 days, and so we're now at public hearing, if there's any comments on it.
That's what I was thinking. Okay, yeah. Yeah, do we have any comments from either the public or any members of council regarding this rezoning issue? My question is the legislation prepared?
I do not have any legislation.
Pardon?
I didn't receive.
We do not have the legislation.
Okay. Are there any objections to this particular move, this rezoning by anyone?
So just some clarification. What's the reasoning we're rezoning this? Is there a new business going in there, et cetera? What's the reason?
Wanted to attract new business.
Huh?
I believe you wanted to attract new business.
Wanted to be able to attract new business because right now it is suburban residential, which permitted that it was a doctor's office. And
So
now it, pardon?
So my question would be, do we want something there other than a doctor's office? Would we want some type of retail there?
That's your
So that
prerogative.
was that was the recommendation of planning and zoning, was to change it. And so that was their analysis.
So has there been notification to all the homeowners in that area?
I
That was
believe
part
that's
of this going through planning and
part of
zoning.
the protocol, yes.
Okay. Was there any concerns with any of the neighbors?
I haven't received any. Have you?
No, not that I know of.
Mr. Reeman, have you received any information or any comments?
No, there were no concerns at planning and zoning that were permitted, and this has been advertised for public comment. So in theory, if there were concerns, there would be someone on the phone this evening that could voice those concerns. The building currently sits as a vacant building, and the hope is that the rezoning will take it from being a vacant building to getting some use. Right now, I don't believe it's used at all. The physicians that were previously in there have moved to the new Premier building, and it's just sitting as a vacant property.
That's all I had.
Okay. Further questions or comments?
So we're just going to change that to neighborhood business to possibly attract something then, right?
I think that's the intent, yes.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so if there's nothing further, what we will do is declare this portion of the public hearing closed. Ask the law director to prepare the legislation, and then the legislation would be up for vote by council next meeting. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. Now, if anyone else wants to address council, and I don't see anyone logged in or any phone numbers up, so I don't know that we have any public available tonight. I'm hoping that they're able to watch on the Facebook thing, but it kind of concerns me that we don't have a few more people listening in or chiming in on some of these things, because I don't want to make it a situation where council continues to act and move and nobody has any opportunity for input. So maybe as we look to the future, further comments? All right, if there's nothing else further from the public, then we will move the agenda and go on with our administrative reports. Mayor Wilmot.
I just got a few items that were kind of good and happened over the last couple of weeks. So one thing to start with is the horseshoe tournament. Went off with good success, and I believe that I was told that by a couple of people that are involved at running that event, that the people love the event, particularly once from out of town, and they are definitely going to be coming back and want to continue to be in Greenville. So that's pretty nice to hear, and they love our park, and certainly thanks to those that are involved in bringing that 4th of July, or not 4th of July, the state competition to Greenville, and look for many more to come. It's been going on for, gosh, I can't remember what it was, 40, 50, 60 years? It's incredible. So thanks to all of them.
1957 was the first one.
Wow, that's a long time ago. 57. I couldn't remember what it was. I know I heard it, but so the other thing is what a great event the car show was. I talked to a couple of people that were involved in making that happen, and they're pretty pleasantly surprised that they had a good number of vehicles. I think they had 345 registered vehicles, maybe another 15 or so that came just to show, and The whole downtown Broadway was completely full all the way around the circle. So it's not the biggest show they've had by any means, but it was a good success. So a lot of people came from out of town because there's a lot of other events that were canceled. So kudos to those guys that went ahead and put on the show, and we appreciate it. Biggest thing I heard is there wasn't enough food to eat. Restaurants were full. So good for them, and good signs that maybe we could do something a little bit better and different than next year. So I'm going to tell you just a little about just a real short story. And I want to thank a couple people, Ryan Berry with the Main Street Greenville, and Ryan Delk and Mike Riemann were involved from the get-go on the door project. So that came out to be a huge success on the first Friday. And the Ryan Berry finally got together, and we had our first opening of the First Fridays for downtown. And it was a great time to show off all the improvements we had downtown, all the uplighting on the trees, running all the conduit, the new stamped concrete. It's a beautiful downtown. We had a lot of comments. I was called from a couple people. The GOP, a lot of dignitaries in town, and they were all telling us that I wasn't there, but didn't make it. But it was a great event, and the downtown looked wonderful. So they were really impressed. But just to tell you one little short part more of that, we were hoping to have the door opened up with the first Friday. We were wondering why we hadn't heard anything back from the state. I called Susan Manchester's office, our state representative, and she made some phone calls to her office and got them in contact with the State Department of Commerce, the Liquor Control, and talked to a man there, Dillip was his name, and he said, "Well, did you turn an application in?" I said, "Well, yes, we did. It's been several weeks." And he said, "Could you send it to us again and send it to my email?" So I got a hold of Ryan and Mr. Riemann, and they were able to get that sent to him. He had a couple other questions, and said, we asked him, "Well, why didn't you have the application with you?" He said, "Well, nobody's at the office." So they're all working at home. I said, if we didn't make a call, we may not have had the door for another month. Who knows? But it all worked out great, and he processed that right away. I think the next day he sent letters back for us to distribute to all the people that are going to participate, and we have the start of our DORA, and it worked out great. I think the first couple weeks here, they've gone through, all the businesses gone through hundreds of cups. So it's a pretty cool deal, and people are appreciative of it. And I've heard a lot of comments that it's very enjoyable. And we had a great weekend to start it out too. So it was pretty cool. So back to something a little more down to earth. It's been a long time, and we need to get back to some business that kind of was put on hold from the virus. And I want you to think about it and ask questions down the road. We need to do something with water rates. I know we had a talk about it, and Gary presented a great program, but for everybody to get a hold of or get a handle on. But into next year, we really need to have something done. And if we have a major problem next year, we run into trouble. So that maybe talk about another council meeting, and maybe a proposal would come up. So I just want you to think about it and find out what you want to do. So it's something we need to get done though. So, and I will pass with that. Thanks.
Mr. Mayor, if you would get me a request for an assignment, I think I will go ahead and assign that to the Utilities Committee.
Good.
And we'll make that an assignment. We'll start next
Right. I'll write something up and get to you
yes.
for the next
That
meeting then.
would- For the next meeting, that
Good
would be
deal.
good.
Thank you.
Okay, anything further? Thank you. Safety Service Director, Mr. Delk.
Thank you, Mr. President. City Council, just a few updates. First of all, our Wagner Avenue project, Wagner Avenue is open. They're finishing the lighting right now, running all the wire to get it wired up. And then we have a final walkthrough that we have to do to do a punch out list. But other than that, Wagner Avenue is complete. So now Broomball Construction is back onto the Greenville Creek water main crossing. So they're over on Water Street finishing up that portion. So they should be done here within the next month with that. So 2 major summer projects will be completed here the end of the month.
Wagner looks great. It's really cool. All
Yeah,
the
it
new
turned out
lighting
nice.
down there. If anybody hasn't seen it, take a look. It's really cool.
The North Broadway lights, Capital Electric installed bases this week. They should finish those up tomorrow. And then next week, they'll start installing the actual poles on the light pole bases. And then late next week, first of the week of the 28th, towards the end of the month, they'll start wiring them. And then that project will be complete also. The wastewater treatment clarifier project is ongoing. It's they have 2 of the clarifiers down right now, putting all the new controls in them, and then once they get those up and running, they will shut down the last 2 and complete those. They have about 6 weeks left on that project. And then last but not least, so there's some legislation to purchase lights for 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and I just want to kind of touch base on that. So the original plan when the downtown stamped concrete project started was to do the stamped concrete, directional bore in all the conduit for the lights, pour the bases, and then we were going to purchase half the lights this year and then half the lights next year just because of cost. Well, due to COVID, a lot of things got pushed back. We took a lot of items off the table, from purchasing like some new mowers and different items, cut back paving, items like that. So now we are requesting that we go ahead and purchase the remainder of those decorative lamp posts for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And we already have the wires, we already have the bases. It's just a matter of purchasing the light poles and getting them installed. And then we can just totally button up that project and have it complete for the year. And with that, I will pass and answer any questions.
Thank you. Moving on, Law Director, Mr. Raymond.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks, President Burkett. I actually don't have anything at this time to report tonight, but I do need just a brief executive session at the end of the agenda, following under ORC 121.22G3, some threatened or pending litigation. And with that, I will answer any questions.
Okay. Ahead of time. Okay, moving on, City Auditor, Mrs. Wellman.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Included in the legislation tonight is the repeal of a prior supplemental legislation, and then we'll replace it with new legislation. This was a legislation for the budget reductions, and we had to make several revisions because we found out we had buttoned it down so tightly that we needed some additional funds in a couple of different areas. So that's why you're going to see that legislation tonight. Number 2, also on tonight's legislation is the city's property and liability insurance renewal with Lippman Thomas Agency. The overall increase in premiums is just 0.5%, and that's mostly due to new vehicles that we purchased. But for the most part, it's just about the same as it was the prior year. And lastly, I wanted to notify council that I closed an escrow account at Greenville National Bank just today for a fire claim at 113 Palm Drive, and the insurance proceeds were distributed to the property owner. And with that, I pass.
Okay, thank you. We have no committee reports. And we have 9 ordinances and resolutions to consider. So the first is a resolution accepting the amount and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor.
A resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor. This resolution accepts the amounts and rates for the tax budget for the fiscal year commencing January 1st, 2021, as established by the Darke County Budget Commission.
Move to suspend the rules and give this resolution a reading by title only for the second and third time.
Motion by Mr. Whitaker to suspend the rules, read the resolution by title second and third time. Discussion. Call roll, please.
Audisha?
Yes.
Rogers? Schmidt?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Baumgartner? Baumgartner?
Sorry, yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
A resolution accepting the amount and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor. A resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor.
Motion to accept this resolution.
Motion by Mr. Howdeshell to approve the resolution. Discussion. Call roll, please.
Audisha?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Baumgartner?
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
And next we have an ordinance repealing ordinance number 20-83 that was passed on August the 4th.
An ordinance repealing ordinance 2083 passed on August 4th, 2020 regarding the transfer of funds among the appropriations of the various funds of the city of Greenville. This ordinance repeals ordinance 2083 passed on August 4th, 2020 regarding the transfer of funds to the general account.
Move to suspend the rules, give this ordinance second and third reading by title only.
Motion by Mr. Rogers to suspend the rules and read the ordinance by title second and third time. Discussion. Call roll, please.
Audisha?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Baumgartner?
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
An ordinance repealing ordinance number 2083 passed on August 4th, 2020 regarding the transfer of funds among the appropriations of the various funds of the city of Greenville. An ordinance repealing ordinance number 2083 passed on August 4th, 2020 regarding the transfer of funds among the appropriations of the various funds of the city of Greenville.
Move to adopt.
The one repealing. Just a minute. I'm sorry, who made that motion?
Give it to John.
Mr. Baumgartner?
Yes.
Motion by Mr. Baumgartner to adopt the ordinance. Discussion. Now, before we go to the vote, I'm going to ask the auditor to expound on that just a little bit. We're repealing number 20-83.
Right. As I mentioned previously, this legislation was originally involved with budget reductions, and we had some changes and revisions that we needed to make because we had run it so tightly that we needed to loosen it up a little bit. So we thought the cleanest way to do it was to repeal the prior supplemental or the prior ordinance and then replace it with new legislation, which we have here tonight. So If anybody has any additional questions, I'd be glad to answer anything.
Well, but the one coming up replaces 2087. That's different than this one, right? This is where we're repealing 2083,
We're repealing 2083, correct?
but then we're also repealing 2087 as well. That's what's come up in the number 9.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, those are both correct. You're
Okay.
right.
So we don't get the two confused. I want you to all be aware of that. Okay. Further discussion. Call the roll, please.
Audie Shell,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
Next, we have a supplemental appropriation ordinance.
An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Greenville, state of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2020. This supplemental ordinance allows for appropriations in the general fund, CIP fund, park fund, and local coronavirus relief fund as follows. Internal audit fees, elected auditor and treasurer in the amount of $500. These funds are needed for an OPERS and Ohio Police and Fire Pension Fund audit. CIP transfer, elected auditor treasurer in the amount of $46,800. These funds are needed for the downtown lighting project. New equipment, fire department in the amount of $1,200. These funds were provided by an EMS grant. New equipment park in the amount of $1,500. These funds are needed to purchase disc golf equipment and were provided by donations. Roadway enhancement in the amount of $46,800. These funds are needed to complete the 3rd, 4th, and 5th Street lighting project. State share roadway enhancement in the amount of $440,000 or $440,413.63. These funds were provided by the OPWC for the Wagner Avenue Road widening project. The following funds are needed for COVID-19 expenses and provided by the federal government assistance. Salaries COVID in the amount of $120,449.96. Office supplies COVID in the amount of $7,500. Supplies COVID in the amount of $2,500. Hazmat supplies COVID in the amount of $500. Professional services COVID in the amount of $8,000. And new equipment COVID in the amount of $7,000.
Oh.
Mr. Council President, I move to suspend the rules, give this ordinance second, third reading by title only.
Motion, Mr. Baumgartner, to suspend the rules, read the ordinance by title second, third time. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Audie Shell,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Greenville, state of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2020. An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Greenville, state of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2020.
Move to adopt the ordinance.
From Mr. Rogers to adopt the ordinance. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Audie Shell,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have a transfer ordinance.
Ordinance for the transfer of funds among the appropriations of the various funds of the city of Greenville. This transfer ordinance authorizes transfers in the amount of $850 from salaries pool to office supplies pool. These funds are needed to cover the insurance premium for 2020.
Make a motion to suspend the rules on this ordinance and read it by title only, second, third time.
Motion, Mr. Godwin, to suspend the rules, read the ordinance by title second, third time. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Audie Shell,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
An ordinance for the transfer of funds among the appropriations of the various funds of the city of Greenville. An ordinance for the transfer of funds among the appropriations of the various funds of the city of Greenville.
Move to adopt.
Motion, Mr. Baumgartner, to adopt the ordinance. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Audie Shell,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
Next, we have a resolution to purchase the remainder of the decorative street lighting for downtown Greenville.
A resolution to purchase the remainder of the decorative streetlights for downtown Greenville. This resolution is to allow the purchase of the remainder of the decorative streetlights for downtown Greenville.
Move to suspend the rules, give this resolution second and third reading by title only.
Mr. Rogers to suspend the rules, read the resolution by title second, third time. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Audisha,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
A resolution to purchase the remainder of the decorative streetlights for downtown Greenville. A resolution to purchase the remainder of the decorative streetlights for downtown Greenville.
Move to adopt.
Motion by Mr. Whitaker to adopt the ordinance, or excuse me, resolution. Discussion?
How many more lights do we need, Ryan?
18.
Okay. And what's the approximate cost on that?
47,000.
Okay.
Further discussion?
Yeah, I have a question to the law director. Since I own some property in the neighborhood, should I abstain from this vote? Mr. Riemann, are you there?
Yes.
So my question is,
it can't hurt.
okay,
I mean, it doesn't directly impact you with there being a new light, but I think it's the safer approach.
okay.
All right.
Do we have enough to vote then?
Yes, because the motion to suspend has passed.
Okay.
Okay. We're just down to the motion itself, which just requires a simple majority.
Very good.
Okay. Further discussion? Call the roll.
Audisha,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
You did mark Baumgartner as abstaining.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, next we have a resolution authorizing reimbursement to Dina Trowbridge for rental fees for Shelter House Rental City Park.
Authorizing reimbursement to Dina Trowbridge for rental fees for a shelter house rental in the city park. This resolution authorizes reimbursement to Dina Trowbridge in the amount of $65 for rental of a shelter house in the city park.
Make a motion to suspend the rules on this resolution and read it by title only, second and third time.
Motion by Mr. Godwin to suspend the rules, read the resolution by title second and third time. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Audisha,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
A resolution authorizing reimbursement to Dina Trowbridge for rental fees for a shelter house rental in the city park. A resolution authorizing reimbursement to Dina Trowbridge for rental fees for a shelter house rental in the city park.
Move to adopt the resolution.
Motion by Mr. Rogers to adopt the resolution. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Audisha,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
Okay, item 7, a resolution authorizing a contract with Lippman Thomas Insurance Agency.
A resolution authorizing a contract not to exceed 1 year in duration with Lippman Thomas Insurance Agency for the providing of liability insurance coverage for the city of Greenville, Ohio. This resolution authorizes a contract not to exceed 1 year with Lippman Thomas Agency providing liability insurance to the city of Greenville.
Move to suspend the rules and give this resolution a reading by title only for the second and third time.
Motion by Mr. Whitaker to suspend the rules, read the resolution by title second and third time. Discussion.
Can I bring it up now?
Well, wait a minute, got a resolution for the, to suspend the rules right now.
Okay.
Resolution to suspend the rules, all right? Discussion on suspension of the rules. Call roll, please.
Howdy Shell,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
A resolution authorizing a contract not to exceed 1 year in duration with Lippman Thomas Insurance Agency for the providing of liability insurance coverage for the city of Greenville, Ohio. A resolution authorizing a contract not to exceed 1 year in duration with Lippman Thomas Insurance Agency for the providing of liability insurance coverage for the city of Greenville, Ohio.
Move to adopt the resolution.
Motion by Mr. Rogers to adopt the resolution. Now, point of order, Mr. Riemann. In conferring with the auditor, the current, well, that begins October 1st. So this should have had an emergency clause. Can we add an emergency clause at this point? Or what would be the best protocol here?
In an ideal world, we would have the emergency clause. If we have the votes, if an emergency clause is added, obviously we need the votes to pass the emergency clause as well.
Right.
You need a motion to amend the agenda?
So moved.
Not the agenda. It would be amend.
We need to amend, the
legislation.
legislation needs amended.
Yeah.
In theory, we need to do that, I guess. I think as long as we have the votes to pass the emergency clause and all of the members of the council understand that, we can add it in on this occasion, but it's certainly not a practice I want to start.
That's my concern too, Mr. Raymond. But if would be a simple amendment to the motion?
I think we'd have to go back and amend the motion and get the proper votes on the emergency clause and then go forward.
Mr. Council President, I'll make a motion to amend this resolution to add the emergency clause.
Okay. Then we have a motion on the floor to amend this resolution to include the emergency clause. Is there discussion? Call a roll to add the amendment.
Howdy Shell,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
Okay, so now that we have done that, now we have to go back. I think, Mr. Reeman, your recommendation is to go back and reconsider the motion with the amendment.
As amended.
Is that not correct?
That's correct. No, that is correct. And then, then there would be the reconsider of everything and then the adoption of the emergency clause.
Okay. So the only thing that you would need to add, Madam Clerk, would be to, with Lippman Thomas Agency and declaring an emergency.
Correct.
Okay, all right. So now would you, well, no, wait a minute. We have an amended motion on the floor. The motion was to adopt. How do we dispose of that?
Got to vote on the amended motion.
It's not a motion to reconsider. Yeah. Consider 680. Mr. Reaman.
Yes, sir. I'm also trying to read as you are.
It really isn't a motion to reconsider.
No, so because the motion was to amend, so now the motion, the resolution's been amended to insert an emergency clause.
That's
so now
correct.
I think we have still pending the motion now with an emergency clause. So I think the next step will be a motion to adopt the emergency clause.
We did.
That's now attached to the pending motion.
Okay, we did a motion?
I thought we only.
I'm sorry?
I thought that we just did the motion to amend, which we did. Now we need, Jeffrey, did you call a motion to adopt the emergency clause?
Okay. That's right. There we go. You got that?
And then it'll be
Mark?
a final consideration on the motion.
Okay. Right? Clerk, do you have that? Okay, so now we have to adopt the emergency clause. Got it?
Mhm.
All right. Do I have a motion to adopt the emergency clause?
So move.
Motion by Mr. Rogers to adopt the emergency clause. Discussion. Call the roll.
Howdy Shell,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
Move to adopt.
Now we have a motion to adopt the amended motion with the emergency clause. Discussion on that. Call a roll, please.
Howdy Shell,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I didn't want that to get out of hand or away from us, so we did the right thing. Are we losing our video? Huh?
It's going through the speaker and the camera up there.
Okay,
This is just cut out and it switched to the other one.
okay.
So I think we're still good.
Can you all hear us well?
Yeah.
So far.
Okay. All right, next we have item number 8, which is an authorizing a transfer of used equipment to Greenville City Schools.
A resolution authorizing the transfer of used equipment to Greenville City Schools. This resolution authorizes the transfer of used equipment, Sony HXR camera, and camera tripod to Greenville City Schools.
Make a motion to suspend the rules on this resolution and read it by title only, second and third time.
Motion, Mr. Godwin, to suspend the rules and read the resolution by title second and third time. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Howdy Shell,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
A resolution authorizing the transfer of used equipment to Greenville City Schools. A resolution authorizing the transfer of used equipment to Greenville City Schools.
Move to adopt the resolution.
Motion by Mr. Rogers to adopt the resolution. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Hodeisha,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
And finally, item number 9, we have an ordinance repealing and replacing ordinance number 28-87 passed on August 14th regarding additional appropriations for current expenses.
An ordinance repealing and replacing ordinance 2087 passed on August 18th, 2020 regarding additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Greenville, state of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2020. This ordinance repeals and replaces ordinance 2087 passed on August 18th, 2020 regarding additional appropriations in the general fund, street fund, park fund, and coronavirus relief fund.
Make a motion to suspend the rules on this ordinance and read it by title only, second and third time.
Motion, Mr. Godwin, to suspend the rules, read the orders of title second and third time. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Hodeisha,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
An ordinance repealing and replacing ordinance 2087 passed on August 18th, 2020 regarding additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Greenville, state of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2020. An ordinance repealing and replacing ordinance 2087 passed on August 18th, 2020 regarding additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Greenville, state of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2020.
Move to adopt the ordinance.
Motion, Mr. Smith, to adopt the ordinance. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Hodeisha,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
Yes for Baumgartner. I didn't hear you all the way.
I answered for you, John.
Hey, no problem.
That concludes our ordinance and resolutions. We have nothing under old or new business. Communications from for council. Anyone from the clerk?
We received the from the fire department, street department, and the transit department.
Okay. Any other communications? Now then, let's call down the council, please.
Hodeisha,
Ryan, I'd like to know about the home at 517 East 3rd Street. It caught on fire a couple of years ago and someone ended up buying it, and nothing's been done to it since.
Okay, I'll have to check. That one doesn't ring a bell to me, but I'll check it out.
Okay, thank you. And with that, I pass.
Rogers,
I'm going to pass tonight.
Schmidt,
I'll pass.
Whitaker,
The Wagner widening project is really an outstanding addition to Greenville. And I think what we're going to see now is an addition to some much needed housing up in that area. And it's just going to lead to some good things. That was a great project and it looked sharp. Good job, everybody.
Baumgartner.
Yeah, two things. So one, I'd like to thank the mayor and Ryan for going above and beyond and keeping the car show going. I know there was some pushback on that, and we pushed back harder. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Delk. And then the other thing is the time I spent on the park board, we started this disc golf thing, and we kind of, as I left and came to council, we were right at the end of it. But it sounds like they have the the 9 holes on the Masonic Lodge side is up and running. And I believe they're close on the 9 holes on the north side of the creek in the park. And then I'm also hearing that there could be even potential people that's stepping up and they might put another 9 holes in North Park. So I thought that was a really cool project. Encourage everyone to, if you had never played disc golf, it's a really cool play. It's some good exercise. So just wanted to put that shout out on that project, and it sounds like a really cool project. With that, I pass.
Godwin.
Yeah, I'd just like to, you're talking about the Wagner Avenue. I seen the track hoe sitting out there in front of Rural King. So is Hardy's going to get started out there then, tearing up their parking lot. And so that'll be a good addition to that corner. And with that, I will pass.
President Burkett.
I too will pass. I have nothing at this time. Wait a minute. I take that back. I take that back. Had an opportunity to talk with some members of the DAR, Daughters of the American Revolution, Greenville chapter, who assisted us with the opening of the time capsule and was very gracious in helping get the display put together down at the visitor center. And it was in the visitor center for maybe a couple of weeks. I happened to be busy playing nurse and earning my degree in domestic engineering as my wife was recuperating from her knee surgery. So that I was kind of out of the picture, but they went ahead and took hold of that project, and understand that they've moved all of the contents now out to on display at the Carson Museum, where that will be. And then I think we need to begin to look at the possibility of maybe resealing for another 25 years and maybe adding some, at least some stuff on the COVID-19 thing. So probably in 25 years, people might forget about this. A lot of us will be around if you remember it. But anyway, besides that, there have been a number of happenings that since 25 years ago. So it might be good to put it in for another 25, 30, maybe even 50 years, who knows? But something to consider, and maybe we'll begin to work with an ad hoc committee or something of that nature as we look to this in the future. So yeah, that's all I have, and I appreciate the time. Thank you. We have a call for an executive session by the law director regarding Ohio Revised Code number 12122G3, which is conference with the attorney regarding pending or threatening litigation. So at this time, I would entertain a motion that we rise to executive session.
So moved.
Motion of Mrs. Howneshell that we rise to executive session. Call roll, please.
Howneshell.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Baumgartner.
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
Okay, now what do we need to do to shut down? So I'll shut down.